I'm Cynthia.
I'm Daniela.
I'm Lily. We were on Team Avondale in fall of 2018, and our goal was to design a feasible, safe, accessible, aesthetic, and enjoyable trailhead connecting Avondale Drive to the Durham Beltline Trail.
Our client was the city of Durham.
Here's an image of our final prototype. It's a model of the trailhead we designed at Avondale intersection.
We will now tell you how we created a pairwise comparison chart for the design criteria step of the engineering design process.
First, we're going to discuss our constraints. Our first constraint were ADA restrictions. Our trailhead design had to be very accessible. We also needed to meet environmental restrictions for the area as well as safety concerns. We did not want our trail to harm any trail users, and we didn't want any lawsuits against the city of Durham.
So I remember some of our design criteria were that the trail be easy to see and reach from the road, just for practical accessibility reasons, so that people are motivated to go in and try it out. And we wanted it to be well lit, so it would be comfortable at night, and also low maintenance, so that the city wouldn't have to spend lots of money sending people to upkeep the trail.
I also remember we wanted to include amenities, including a trash can, bathrooms, and drinking fountains, but we weren't sure if there would be enough room to do that. Also, we wanted to include parking so that the trail would be easily accessible, and we wanted it to have the capacity to be expanded because that's what our client had asked for.
I remember we also had some more fun objectives, including having our trailhead be aesthetically pleasing. I know we thought about incorporating local artists into our trailhead and including art, and we also wanted to include something about the history of Durham. There were community partners who expressed interest in shining a light on the history of Durham and the railroad, since this is a rail to trail. And so, yeah.
Most of our objectives came more from our client and the people in Durham who had talked about this proposed plan and come up with things they wanted to see. But one that we pretty much came to all on our own was our personal constraint of not wanting to condemn homes in the neighborhood. The way the trail is laid out, there's houses on each corner, often really, really close to where we wanted to build the trail. We wanted to take as little land as possible, not only because it's not as expensive, but also because we didn't think it was appropriate to destroy people's homes to build them a trail. It's a little counterintuitive. So when we initially sat down to make our PCC last year, we already felt pretty uneasy about the project. It had been suggested to us that we were allowed to condemn homes in the neighborhood, which we weren't really comfortable with. We even named our team CASH, Coalition Against Condemning Homes, but we didn't have an ethical aspect to our engineering course, so we didn't know we were allowed to include that as some of the objectives from the project because it came not from our client but from our own concerns. And so when we made our PCC, we didn't include our disinterest in destroying the homes and buildings that are built really near the trail, and that came up later in the semester when we realized our solutions coming out of that PCC did destroy homes in the neighborhood, and we didn't like any of them, and we wish we'd known about it sooner so we could have done something different instead.
Later, we actually learned about Durham's fraught history of land appropriation from marginalized communities, and this is definitely information and context that we really wish we had been presented with or had access to during our project.
So next, let's talk about amenities versus homes in the neighborhood. So this is one we didn't have on our chart when we did it last year, but if we were to include it now, we're just trying to weigh the pros and the cons of having more space to build a bathroom and a drinking fountain, things that take up more space, versus cutting into people's property and the homes that are on the corners of those property near where we want to put this trailhead.
I think thinking about the homes is really important because that will make the residents of the community want to come to the trail more if we don't cut into their space, and that will make them think that we respect them more, which will make them more likely to want to come to the trail.
Yeah, it's tough because I feel like there's something strange about coming to this area that's supposed to be improving your neighborhood, but you see this evidence of destroying your neighborhood as well. That might be a difficult thing to see.
And I think there are other ways that we could find a way to include amenities while still making sure that people's homes remain intact. If we're just creative about that and prioritize preserving the homes first. I think putting the amenities in and along the trail, maybe more so than up on the road.
Like bike rides.
It would require some compromising, but definitely preserving the homes seems more in the interest of the city of Durham in the long term.
Yeah.
And outside of the ethical factors, there's definitely a cost component to think about too. Buying people's land, even though they're technically allowed to take it under eminent domain laws, still takes money because they have to pay the equivalent.
Yeah.
And so using as little land as possible, even if we're not even touching somebody's house, is going to be less expensive for the city and might allow them to afford some of these other priorities.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all in agreement, how maintaining houses over amenities is more important.
Yes.
Great.
Last year on our PCC, we prioritized ease of access and sight from the road, but also in the back of our mind, we were really thinking about cutting into people's properties because we really didn't want to do this. So our final solution has a sliver of someone's property, but it's really far from their house, and also we were able to include a lot of amenities.
Yeah, from this project, we definitely found out that trade-offs are really difficult. There were ethical dilemmas present throughout this entire process, and it's clear that no matter what decision we decided to make in the end, there was going to have to be some kind of compromise.
What we've learned is that you need to think about and thoroughly discuss not only your client's objectives, but also ethical values. And if you incorporate both of these factors, the solution that you come up with will not only be the best solution for your client and you, but all actors involved.